Good morning, dear parents of the Ateneo de Manila Basic Education. My name is Johnny Salvador, and I am currently the principal of the Ateneo de Manila Junior High School. Today, I will be your facilitator and master of ceremonies. No? And we would like to begin this session, as we would always do, with a prayer to be led by our newest appointee in the high school. Let me just say a few words about her. She is now the assistant to the director for parent relations and programs of junior high school and senior high school. But prior to that, she was assigned as a cluster coordinator in junior high school. And even prior to that, she was once a grade level coordinator in the grade school. Now she wears another hat, and that is a hat of a parent of a young man in senior high school. So in a way, we can say that the affairs of all the three schools.
A prayer for unity. Dear Lord, in this time in our lives, our deepest hope and our most tender prayer is that we learn to listen. May we listen to one another in openness and mercy. May we listen in wonder and respect. May we listen to our own hearts in love and forgiveness. May we listen to God in quietness and awe. And in this listening, may we find the wisdom to cooperate with healing grace and a divine spirit. We do not ask for a perfect world, but for a better world. And we know that we can only do that if we begin to open ourselves to your grace. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning,
is now, and will be forever.
Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Maisa. Again, everyone, welcome to the launch of our SHOPP, S-H-O-P-P. The acronym SHOPP stands for School Home Online Partnership Program. The metaphor of a shop is not to be confused with shopping, but rather be associated with an idea of a workshop where workers represented by the different stakeholders come together to build our young men and women into persons of the 5 C's. No? Now, our shop, this takes the place of our parents' orientation. It consists of webinars, it consists of downloadable materials, links, or even smaller online gatherings that sort of bring together the efforts of the school and the home in the service of helping our children as they start this new school year and as they chart the new territories of online learning. Now, evidently, you may have noticed that we move as one basic education in the Ateneo de Manila. And we are pleased to tell you that the glue that will really bind us together as one basic education is the able leadership of our incoming Vice President for Basic Education, someone who is very young, yet brings such wealth of experience as former principal of Xavier Cagayan High School, JVP participant, chaplain of the Bilibid. He recently just came back after earning his doctorate degree from San Francisco and fresh from quarantine, here to deliver his opening remarks. Let us welcome Father Jose Mari Jonji Sumpayco of the Society of Jesus. Father Jonji.
Good morning to everyone. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. My name is Jonji Sumpayco, and I was trying to reflect on what to share to you today. But last night, I thought that I would begin with the IPP. We begin with the Ignatian pedagogy, and we start with context. When we begin with context, then that is what I'm going to share with you. I graduated from the Ateneo de Manila in 1986, grade school, 1990, high school, AB in 94, and MA in 2002 and 2006. Right now, the context that I have would be my teachers now become my colleagues. My classmates would now become the parents. And even if I am here as incoming vice president, I also have 7 nephews in basic education, meaning that my sisters and brothers would also be part of the whole experience that is here. I'm also a stakeholder, just like the parents of basic education and just like the faculty and staff of our schools right now. From the context that we have, it is a difficult context because we have a lot of new things to encounter, especially during this year. It might also give us new directions in the next few years. That's why it's important that the partnership that we have in terms of home and school will be nurtured at that. We try to nurture the experience of our children, our students, so that we may be able to discover what is there. As we try to build on this trust, we also try to look and dig deep in ourselves so that we may also discover that there is a lot to be grateful for. There is a lot to celebrate as we try to chart and go to deeper waters at that. So as we try to learn in the next few months in our academic year, may God continue to bless us, but may we continue to have hearts and minds that are open and try to discover the good that we're going to push for this year. May God continue to bless you, and may we see each other as we grow through the year. Maraming salamat po, and may you have a wonderful day ahead.
Forward to working closely alongside you. I will now turn you over again to Mrs. Maisa Castañeda so she could introduce to us our very first resource speaker. Maisa?
The expression "been there, done that" best exemplifies this first speaker, so much so that if this person's credentials alone are read, that promises to be longer than any homily that my boss, Father Bert, has ever delivered. Just to give us a glimpse of how spectacular his credentials are, his story starts from his early mission as director of the Jesuit Communications, or JESCOM, to his monumental role as director of Xavier School, which in itself has an epic saga ending in the establishment of Xavier New Valley. Of course, this does not even scratch the surface of the multiple roles that he assumed as the chair of the Jesuit Basic Education Commission to his role in the Jesuit Conference of Asia Pacific, where he helped shape Jesuit education in the 21st century. At present, he is currently the director of the Science and Art of Teaching and Learning Institute, or SALT, the busiest place at the Ateneo these days, the birthplace of the Ateneo Blue Cloud. His title does not do justice to the important role that he plays in helping the school prepare for online learning. When Father Johnny Goa speaks, the faculty does not take it with a grain of salt, but instead We give it our heart, mind, and soul because we know that his years of experience as an educational leader will take us closer to responding to the needs of the 21st century learner, but always in line with the Ateneo's brand of education. Friends, let us welcome Father Johnny Go of the Society of Jesus.
Good morning. Thank you, myself, for your eulogy ahead of time. I will make sure that you'll be invited to my funeral because I think that makes a good eulogy. A lot of exaggeration there because the migration to online learning in the Ateneo really takes a village. No? Everyone has joined together to do this. So I've been invited to speak to you a little bit about the kind of online learning that we are preparing here in the Ateneo de Manila. No? So I'd just like to sort of walk you through some of the ideas, some of the big ideas that we have been talking about. No? So first of all, I think all of us were caught off guard, no? by this unexpected shift to off-site learning. No? Suddenly, our classrooms are empty. Our campus is empty. No? And suddenly, for this coming school year, our students will not be coming to our campus, and we will have to now shift suddenly to online learning. No? So all of us have been caught off guard by this. No? And as a result, many of our teachers, including ourselves, no, we have been sort of bewildered and puzzled what to do. No? There's a lot of talk about online learning, about remote teaching, about distance education. What are we being asked to do, and how are we going to be able to offer our services to our students? Because as you know, our students are our most important stakeholders. No? So, and as you know, we don't want to just deliver content just like any other school or university. You know? Ateneo de Manila is a Jesuit educational institution, and we take seriously all these words that you have become familiar with: magis, persons for others, ad maiorem Dei gloriam, cura personalis. All of these slogans are actually values that we hold very dear. No? And if we need to migrate to an online kind of education, how will we be able to do so without diluting all these values? No? We want to be able to strengthen and preserve these values even if we go online. No? And this is one, I think, simple diagram that sort of summarizes what Jesuit education might mean for us. And I'm sure you parents are familiar with this, no? That Jesuit education isn't just about academic excellence. Just as important, if not more important, it's about Ignatian formation. It's about faith and values formation. And the goal, the purpose of academic excellence and Ignatian formation for us is service, is to do outreach, is to become persons for others. So how are we going to be able to do all this online when all of us have been caught off guard? How will we implement the IPP, Ignatian pedagogy? Some of you may be familiar with the cycle of learning that we take seriously in our teaching practice, no? That we want our students to experience holistically whatever it is we're teaching them. We want them to reflect on their experience, because only when they make meaning, when they construct their own meaning, will they be able to make good decisions and take the best courses of action. How are we going to do all this online? No? And the bad news is that in the online culture, as we may be familiar, has an anti-reflection culture. It does not encourage culture. No? It encourages us to be hunters in the digital forest. Puro tayo copy and paste. No? We just hunt and gather for information without really thinking about them. No? When in fact learning, Ignatian learning, is all about cultivating personal knowledge. So these are some of the issues and challenges that we had to reflect about and wrestle with, no, before we would come up with some. So the first thing I want to say perhaps to our parents is that we did not just spring into action. We did not just resort to a knee-jerk reaction to this crisis. We did what every Ignatian educator is supposed to do. We took a step back and we reflected on the big picture. What are we being called to do? How are we going to respond to this crisis in a way that's going to ensure that we're able to deliver to our students what we have promised you, our parents, which is precisely high quality online Jesuit education that does not consist only in academic excellence, but also Ignatian formation, especially in an online culture which is anti-reflection, which is one of the defining ingredients of Jesuit education. No? This is why we came up with what we call the Ateneo Blue Cloud. No? The Ateneo Blue Cloud really stands for online education, but not just any kind of online education. It's online education the Ateneo way. No? Ateneo Blue Cloud symbolizes all our philosophies or all our principles about online Jesuit education that have become the basis for all the programs, structures, and policies and practices that our basic education units have come up with. No? So these are some of our beliefs about online learning that have emerged from our discussion. First of all, it's not about technology. It's all about the learning as well as the formation of our students. So we're not here for the high-tech part of doing online learning. Technology is but a means to learning. No? Secondly, more than worrying about delivering content, whether it's going to be online and rather than face-to-face, it's all about designing. So we have really been getting our teachers to learn what online design is all about. Because designing for online learning and formation is very different from designing for face-to-face. No? We can't just translate whatever we're doing in the traditional classroom to the online setting. That's not going to work. Research has shown us that that is very ineffective. No? Also, one of the things we talked about is rather than just going synchronous every time, in other words, we're just going to meet real time with our students all the time, just as we're doing in a regular classroom, we want to begin designing more asynchronous learning, no? Where students will have time on their own as well. No? We don't want our students to be on screen all the time. No? We want them to be able to learn even off screen. No? We want them to be on task even off screen. And finally, inclusivity is very important. No? We want to walk the talk. We're talking about being concerned about the marginalized. So we don't want to marginalize anyone among our students. No? We want to think of our weakest link. No? So the student in every classroom who has the most unreliable internet access, we want to make sure that they're included. No? So these are just some of the principles. There are many more, no? But these are just some of the principles we've been talking about, just to give you an idea. No? And as a result of all these principles, we thought, why don't we come up with a comprehensive and systematic training for our faculty and staff so that all of us will be on the same page. And for this reason, we've been running this professional certificate course for our Ignatian educators, not just in the basic education, but also in the Loyola schools and the professional schools, as well as our Philippine network of Jesuit schools and universities. This online training course is called Adaptive Design for Learning, and it's been ongoing, and the teachers of your children in the grade school, in the junior high school, and in the senior high school have all been going through this particular course. No? And one of the things we want to show them, and this is a good, I think, idea for you to be aware of, is that for us, online learning isn't just about dumping content on the children. We don't believe in that. No? We don't believe in just throwing our students into an ocean of content and asking them to swim or sink. No? That's not what online Jesuit learning is all about. As important as content is the second C, which is the coach, no? The teacher. The teacher now assumes the role of a coach. And just like in any sports, so the coach is there to train the athletes, to train the students, but also there to encourage and accompany the students. So that's the role that our teachers are going to assume in this online Jesuit education that we have prepared for our students. And just as importantly, that's also not enough, community is also important. We want our students to be able to learn not only from the content that they're going to study, not only from their teachers who are playing the role of coaches, but also from the community of students, no? The community of learners in their classroom. No? So this requires a number of shifts, no? in our mindset, no? From in-person classes to online classes, from thinking of classes in terms of sessions and weeks to thinking of classes and designing them in terms of modules, from measuring classes in terms of class hours towards learning time. And finally, from an approach that is very teacher-centered to one that's learner-centered. So let me just talk to you a little bit about learning time. No? Learning time refers to the total amount of time that students are on task, that students are actually learning. No? So this refers to every type of activity in the students' learning experiences, whether they're online or offline, whether or not they're in direct contact with the teacher. So this is a different paradigm, no? Whereas before, we kind of assume that our students can only actually learning when they're in class, this refers or when they're at home doing every type of activity. Now we're saying the learning time is more important. We don't want our students to be on screen, online all the time. No? We don't want our students to be on screen all the time, to be at their computer all the time. When we talk about online learning, we want them to be on task all the time. So they don't have to be online, they don't have to be on screen, as long as they're doing their work so that they're learning. So this is a different paradigm as well that we're trying to promote. No? So in terms of the design of the courses, you will see here that there's a basic design. No? So our teachers have been collaborating to design their subjects, no, for the term. There's a basic design, and every teacher will customize the design to add a contextualized layer on top. No? But this will be delivered online, but as you can see at the bottom two layers, we want to make sure there's always a low bandwidth version. And by this, we mean that we always have a transcript that our students will be able to access. No? And also, there can be learning packages that we can prepare, no? Either in thumb drives or hard copies. No? So this really shows you that we want to be as inclusive as possible. So even the training that our teachers are going through, these philosophies are being relayed to them. No? So for this course in Adaptive Design for Learning, just to let you know, we are holding 16 classes for all our teachers in the Ateneo network. There are 27 facilitators. There are over 2,000 teachers and staff who are undergoing this course. No? 1,600 of them are from the university, 449 from basic ed, over 700 from Loyola schools, over 300 from the professional schools, and the rest from the other Jesuit schools and Jesuit universities. Parents, I think I can assure you that there's no other school or university that has such a systematic and comprehensive online faculty training. No? I think the other universities, I'm not aware if they're offering that. No, but as far as I know, the Ateneo network is the only one that's doing this. So if you're wondering if our faculty are going to prepare, there are two answers to that. The first is we'll find out when classes begin. But secondly, they're certainly trying their best to be prepared. No? And that much I can assure you. Aside from the courses, we've been giving weekly webinars to our teachers. We have 3 webinars a week. No? This is an example of our Wednesday webinar. We invited resource speakers to train our faculty how to project their teacher persona, how to teach online. So these are skills that we're training our teachers aside from the online course. No? Monday meetups for basic educators. No? We have talked to our colleagues in the US and in Australia and asked them, what have worked for you? So we're learning from them. We're begging, borrowing, and stealing from them, as we do in the Jesuit network. These are administrators from Jesuit schools in Australia and the US, and they are friends of ours, and they've shared with our faculty the lessons that they've learned, no? From their experiences and their insights. So we've had very rich discussions as a result of this. No? Also, Friday is focused on faculty, on faith and values formation. No? So again, we've invited our friends from the US, both from basic education, from the university, as well as our colleagues from Latin America, to share their insights. So as you can see, we have tapped into the global network of Jesuit schools and universities just to learn from them. just to share best practices. So I think I can really assure you, parents, that our faculty are doing everything to prepare. No? And so far, we've had 6 out of 8 Monday meetups, 6 out of 9 Wednesday webinars, 4 out of 7 Friday fora. So, and each of our webinars is attended from 400 to 1,000 educators. Very well attended. By the end of July, which is the time we'll end our webinars, we will have done everything possible to train our faculty. No? So we have a saying, let's cross the bridge when we get there. We've changed that saying. Our saying now is, we're building the bridge as we cross it. We are not pretending we know all the answers. We're not pretending the bridge has already been completely built. But I think I can assure you that our faculty have been so open, have been so hardworking in building the bridge together, even as we are crossing it. No? And in Chinese, we have our word, our phrase for crisis is wei qi. No? That means crisis. But wei qi is actually, it comes from 2 other phrases. No? A wei qi comes from wei xian, which means danger. But the second character is from qi hui, which means opportunity. I think I can assure you that our faculty have been embracing this crisis as an opportunity. An opportunity for what? No? I think first as an opportunity to retool ourselves and reinvent ourselves as 21st century learner-centered educators. Our faculty now, they didn't expect this, but all of a sudden they've now updated themselves in a very dramatic fashion, that they're now really 21st century learner-centered educators, because now they have all the skills to design online learning and formation. But this is not the only opportunity I'm talking about. The crisis now offers a special opportunity for our students, for your children. And what is this opportunity? More than ever, because of the online setting, our students are being challenged to exercise and develop self-discipline. The teachers and parents will not always be there to supervise them. So this is an opportunity for them to exercise and develop their self-discipline. This is also an opportunity for them to practice deep learning as well as independent thinking because of the learner-centered approach of our online education. So I don't know about you, but I'm very excited. I'm hoping that all of us, teachers, as well as students, will embrace this crisis as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves and become our best selves. And I'm hoping our parents will support your children. I hope you will support your children, and you will also support our faculty in this mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Johnny, for the very informative talk. No? What we did prior to this webinar was to put together the questions of the parents and cluster them into themes. No? So I hope you don't mind that I ask a few of these questions, and just please tell me if this is something that you'll be at liberty to answer or to maybe forward it to anyone else who is in this forum to answer it for us. No? So a few of the themes that emerged in the questions were themes on assessment and grading, on pedagogy and content, on parent and school partnership. So let me just pick up a few of these. No? One of the common themes was a question about this whole principle of less is more. So if I were to phrase the question this way, the question would go like this. The principle less is more, to what extent does this apply uniformly to different subjects in an online learning environment? I think the essence of this question is, by observation, our parents feel that certain subjects require a lot of drills while others don't. So I guess the question here is, should these conventional ways of mastering these subjects be substituted for other methods like problem-based learning? So could you comment on that principle of less is more and how it applies to this online learning environment, Father?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I think that's one of the principles that came up early in our discussions because of the shift to online learning. But aside from that, also because we're undergoing crisis, no, and we don't want to increase the anxiety of our students, parents, and teachers unnecessarily. We wrestled with this principle of how do we practice less is more. But I think a better principle that captures what our faculty have been trying to do is not so much less is more, but moving from many to much. No? Many to much. In other words, instead of quantity, the focus has been quality. So one of the biggest challenges for our faculty is how do we redesign our courses so that we can prioritize what's most essential, no? So that our students will really master the most essential among all the things that we have been offering. And I'd like to think that the ADL course, the Adaptive Design for Learning, has emphasized that and has scaffolded a process for our faculty to make their decisions. Now, exactly what decisions were made by the faculty, I think our faculty can tell you more about that in specific, no? But that's the principle. Less is more, but more than that, not so much many, but much. That's the more Ignatian principle that we have followed.
Thank you. Thank you, Father. If I can just ask another question, when you were introduced, there was a mention of you being an advocate of 21st century skills. No? So the question is, do you believe that in this new online environment, would it be more conducive to the development of all of these skills such as collaboration, well, obviously digital literacy, critical thinking, and problem solving? Why so? No? So do you believe that this new online environment is more conducive to the development of 21st century skills?
Thank you. I would love to say yes, but I think the honest answer is it depends. No? When I was in Xavier School and we were launching the one-to-one program where every student would have a tablet or a laptop so that they can work with digital technology while in the classroom. One of the observations we made is that the teachers who were excellent teachers were very good in classroom management, even with the laptops and tablets on. But the teachers who were not good in classroom management became worse. And I think the same principle will happen now. No? For those students and teachers and parents who are supportive enough, no, to embrace this opportunity, our students will really acquire the 21st century skills in a way they would not have acquired maybe in a traditional classroom. But for the context, no, in the other context where the student does not cooperate or the parents are unable to, for whatever reason, provide the support needed, then I don't think that student will probably learn much less. No? So again, it all depends on how our faculty handles the online classes, how the students respond, because as you know, our students need to give consent to their teachers before they will learn, before they will attain the skills. No, you can only lead the horse to the water, but you can't force the horse to drink the water. That's so true for learning. No? But also for parents. No? If the parents are unable to, for whatever reason, provide the needed support, this homeschool partnership is so crucial now more than ever. I was reading an article and it said that before, in the traditional on-site scenario, when students were coming to school, it was the family that needed to support the school. But now, because of this off-site scenario, it's now the school that's supporting the family. So the parents are playing an even more important role now. So I hope the parents will also respond to this challenge.
Thank you, Father. I must admit that I came across a lot of questions related to quizzes, related to quarterly exams, to group work, which I think are best reserved to the school units to answer in particular. But I was hoping that I could get maybe just some general comment from Father Johnny on the question of assessment. So the question is, how do you think, how reliable rather, is assessment in online environments? No? I remember we had a webinar on assessment, and there's this whole notion of authentic assessment that was discussed. Now, could you talk to us a little bit more about your own ideas about assessment in online environments?
Okay, I always encounter that question about assessment, not so much from parents actually, but more from faculty, because the concern of faculty really is integrity. In other words, they don't want the students to cheat. They don't want the students to open and check their notes. They don't want students to confer with one another. And obviously, in an online environment, there's less control. Actually, if you ask me, even in a face-to-face environment, there's no 100% control. I am not obsessed with that, actually, to be honest with you, because for me, it's important to challenge our students to be honest. And if they decide to cheat, there's only so much that teachers can do about that. Having said that, however, I would like to say that online assessment, when it comes to online assessment, it's very much possible to, there are some strategies and devices you can use to discourage students from cheating, from conferring with one another. But at the end of the day, as I said earlier, the greater challenge is to really invite our students to exercise and develop self-discipline. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to do that. But a quick answer, because really to answer the question about online assessment, we probably need a 3-unit course in education. But all I want to say is I'm a big believer of online assessment. I think online assessment, when designed correctly and implemented correctly, can be even more effective than on-site assessments.
Thank you, Father. I hope you don't mind that I ask a few more questions, maybe one or two. A number of parents were interested about your own take about this raging debate on print versus tablet. For some basic ed schools, there are
Mr. Salvador, I think is he frozen or is it just me? But if I can guess what the question is it about laptop versus tablet? Is that the question? Mr. Salvador, can you type it on the chat box maybe so I can find out what the question is? Yeah, I think we lost him.
Yeah, baka Father writes about the laptop versus tablet. That's where it's going.
Okay, so the question is laptop or tablet. I think the answer is it depends. In Saver School before, there was a raging debate about whether we should shift to tablet from laptop. And I was an advocate of tablet, particularly iPad, because iPad is different from other tablets. What I like about iPads, for example, is that you can use a pencil, and for younger students, you can actually do writing, which is important. But I don't really know what the discussions have been. But there's no formula which is better. It depends on how the teacher designs the use of the device and how the students respond to it. So there is no black and white answer to that. At the end of the day, it depends on how the teacher designs the use of the device. I think what's important now is to be able to use whatever device you have, because I think we live in a third world country, and for me, whatever is available, let's just make use of it. So I think the Basic Ed has issued some guidelines on what would be ideal, but I know the spirit behind that is to make whatever is available work, if I'm not mistaken. So there's flexibility. So there's no black and white answer about tablet or laptop. Me, I would use anything that's available.
Thank you, Father. Sorry, I got lost for a while. One last question. I'm not sure, though, whether this is a question that I should ask you or ask our next resource person or ask you both, no? But I will read it verbatim. The question is, what technical skills do parents need to understand on how their children are learning, no? Some of us hardly manipulated gadgets, save for Facebook and Viber. So do parents need to learn what their children are learning?
Okay, I think Queena would probably have a more complete answer, but my answer off the top of my head will be, you don't have to learn everything you need to learn. But it might be good to sit in with them once in a while, just to learn with them, no? But I don't see what, except for the younger children, I think, except for the lower grades, kindergarten to grade 3, I think the parents obviously will have to assume a greater role, no? Or a guardian will have to assume a greater role. But for the older students, I would encourage the parents, in fact, not to be hovering all the time, because it'll be good for them to become independent learners and to become self-disciplined. You have to check on them, obviously, especially if you think your son needs that, no? It may be good to check on them, but it's also good to give them space, no? And to confer with the teacher if any additional attention is needed. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Father. If my colleagues don't have any more questions for Father Johnny, we'd like to thank Father Johnny for providing us a clear overview of the online learning method. And I think more importantly, not just the methodology, but the philosophy behind this online learning method. And it's true that we have yet to see what the outcome of this training will be and where it will take us. But we hope that the efforts that we have poured into preparing us better will bear positive fruit come August. So thank you very much, Father Johnny, for gracing this invitation to speak to our parents. Virtual round of applause to them, to Father. Now let me turn you over again to my colleague, Maisa, so she could be able to introduce our second speaker. Maisa?
Our second speaker is no stranger to homeschool partnership seminars. She has always been invited because of her various fields of expertise. Dr. Queena Lee-Chua earned her college education, BS Math, summa cum laude, in 1987, graduate MA in Counseling Psychology in 1992, and postgraduate or PhD in Clinical Psychology in 1995 at the Ateneo de Manila University. She is currently a full professor at the Mathematics and Psychology departments of the Ateneo de Manila University. I must say I'm green with envy because among her numerous awards are the Outstanding Women in the Nation's Service in 2001, Outstanding Young Scientist, National Academy of Science and Technology in 2002, First Multiple Intelligence Award, the Dr. Howard Gardner Multiple International School Foundation Incorporated in 2005, Outstanding Teacher Award, the Metrobank Foundation in 2003, National Book Award for Science in 2003, Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards for Literature, First Place, English Essay in 2001, S&T Journalism Awards by the Philippine Press Institute, Philippine Geothermal Incorporated in 1992, and DOST Best S&T Columnist Special Citation in 2005. To date, her list of accomplishments and activities are, in one word, remarkable. She has written science and math books, a newspaper column, and teaches both subjects to students, parents, media, and practically everybody else. But she remains consistent in her goal to make science and math learning fun through simpler, more understandable language. She brings the fun to print, radio, TV, online, and interpersonal audiences. But the most impressive credential she brings is that she too is a parent. As such, you are assured that the insights that she shares on how the school and home can come together in synergy comes not from her cognitive knowledge alone, but from her genuine experiences as both educator and parent. Friends, a virtual round of applause for Dr. Queena Lee-Chua.
My gosh, good morning. That is such a, I hope I live up to the introduction. I only have 30 minutes, and up to now, I've been on several windows because, believe it or not, I still got 5 new emails from parents who are actually not here, but they're on YouTube somewhere. So I didn't even know we were on YouTube. So they told me, could I answer their questions? So medyo, okay. First, parents, I'm sorry. Several of you said you were not able to attend the parenting talk on Saturday. I am not on YouTube. I'm not on social media, but Anvil said you can just watch out for this one. So go to Anvil Facebook page, Anvil TV. I don't know what it is, but parents, Anvil had a cap of people for last Saturday. So several of you were there and are still here now, but some of you were not able to attend. Just watch out for this one. Okay. First, curriculum concerns. These are questions that came out last Saturday and also last night when Jerby Robles, who is part of the Ateneo 18, emailed us at 8:40 p.m. to tell us that there were some questions from parents, and some of you are still emailing me now. Okay, so I will group this into themes. So first, curriculum concerns. Father Johnny discussed this already when he says less is more. Can ODL cover the required curriculum? No. I'm just going to say this, it's a no. If you're thinking it's a K-12 curriculum, K-12 has lots of good intentions, but even before the pandemic, I personally was not too happy with the fact that I think it was already overloaded. So right now, it makes no sense for us to crowd all the overloads into the ODL. So can it cover the required curriculum? It's required by whom, actually? So again, less is more, depth rather than breadth. Do we resign ourselves to a decline in quality? We hope this one I like. This one came from Jervy's question. We hope this new normal won't be just to keep them safe, but to help them become competitive. Yes, I can speak for Ateneo. Father Johnny told you about the structure, the design, etc. So yes, just because the old curriculum could not be covered in breadth does not mean that there is a watering down. Yes, we're asked to be compassionate. Yes, we're asked to be understanding, and we are already doing that. But we also understand parents. Many of you also say you enroll in your emails. You tell me you chose Ateneo because it has a standard. I know. So yes, there is still that standard, but the way we're going to meet that standard is different. I always give the example of college. I am handling now mathematics and psychology. So before the pandemic, we used to teach what was required, and the CHED mandated curriculum was 5 chapters. Now we're down to 4 chapters. So does that mean that there's a decline? I hope not, because now that we are covering 4 chapters, we actually have more time to go in depth towards the chapter. And yesterday night was the submission for the first requirement, a paper for the chapter 1 of math. And I'm happy to tell you, at least in my class, practically everybody met the deadline. Regardless, so I said no excuses, and they did not have any excuses. So it does work, so they're still learning. And the decline in quality of learning is not just a school responsibility. It is also a huge part responsibility of the parents, as we'll go through later. Next one, emotional and mental health. Many of you asked about this. So last night from Jerby, what available tools for children to still have balanced development despite the limitations? How can we help depression? We are so stressed out. It is also a huge part responsibility of the parents, as we'll go. Mental health is a real issue. And I want to just get it out of the way now, because if your child has major depression, it can be a life or death issue. But this, I cannot focus on mental health much in this talk. So yes, parents, we are all stressed out. We cannot avoid stress. It's all of us. but we can learn to manage it. Too little stress is also not good. Too little stress means you don't even have any motivation to do anything. Of course, we don't want too much stress, okay? Parents, depression is a health issue. I do not have time to talk about depression here, but this is very real. For us in college, definitely for the senior high school and the junior high school, yes. So parents, please, it is not a moral failing. Do not get mad at your child. You have to seek help. Who do you seek help from? Guidance, counselor, and teachers. I'm going to go straight here. Okay. Many of you email me about depression and anxiety of your children. If I feel it is major, including the ones in college, I have no choice, even if you tell me not to tell anyone or to keep it confidential, I have no choice but to send it to our college guidance. Through the years, I've done the same with grade school and high school, in the different administrations, with the different principals, with the different, so I've done that. So but this is my request for you on mental health and depression. When you give me an email, I have no idea what the context is, even if you give me a lengthy email. Parents, our Ateneo teachers are very kind. Yes, they are. I'm saying it not just because I teach in the Ateneo, I teach in college, by the way, and I'm talking about the Ateneo basic ed. I'm not doing this to flatter, or I'm not doing this because to sell Ateneo. I think all of you know by now that I am very honest. Life is too short to not be honest. So I say this out of personal experience. I have been working with the grade school and the high school before even K-12 for decades. Teachers have sent me students for math anxiety. That was before. Right now, yes, I've gotten referrals. I've talked to counselors, not just counselors and teachers, admin. Several of the people you see today, including Johnny Salvador, their children were my students. And their children did extremely well, performed very well. And I don't say anything, but I see how students act in class, which means if many of the children of the Ateneo teachers and admin were in my class, and I see their demeanor, I see their motivation, I know a big part of it is because they have a loving family and with the correct discipline, communication, motivation, etc. So they walk the talk. And what am I leading to? If they are that way with their children, they really care. So parents, I'm so happy many of you said that you're now enrolled in the Ateneo grade school and high school. Thank you. But because you're enrolled, part of your privilege, and actually part of what you're paying for, is also the attention of the guidance office, all the counselors, and all the teachers. You have teacher consult, I think, in most afternoons. I'm certain, I don't think I even need to warn the teachers about this, that if a parent feels like he wants to talk to the teacher, not about academics, but about mental health, I am certain the teacher will listen. And if needed, I'm certain the teacher will refer to the guidance, and there's already a protocol. So parents, please, the Ateneo Basic Ed, I would not be here today if I did not believe in our basic ed. So they really care. So I just want to get this out of the way because mental health is often life or death. This is so urgent. Whether or not there is a pandemic. So when the pandemic lifts, and I say when and not if, you should still do the same thing. Talk to your teacher, talk to the guidance counselor. Ask your child, which teacher do you feel most comfortable with? Diretso kayo dun sa teacher. I'm worried about my son, etc., etc., etc. So please, parents, I want to put you at ease because there's so many queries on mental health. So depression, a bit of fear and anxiety is normal. Calm your children, calm yourselves. Don't obsess about things beyond your control. Focus on what you can do. I do not have Viber, etc., because I also don't want to be muddled. I don't want my thoughts to be muddled by things I cannot control and often by fake news. And sometimes fake news makes us anxious. So Okay, if you really still want what you will ask me, what are the warning signs? How do we know? We wrote this book, which is in Anvil, Depression, Self-Harm, Anxiety, Grief. We're doing a lot of grief cases now. If you don't know what to tell your children, this one might help. Okay, let's now go to easier questions which are not life or death. So space and routine. The one in red came from Jerby last night. Many of you said this. I don't have space at home. Other parents have, I don't have. I have 2 boys, they have their own phones. Wow, you actually are luckier that your boys have their own phones. Many people, their boys don't have their own phones. You have 2 computers in the same room. I'm not certain what this means. I'm assuming this is a desktop. So if you have two desktops, all of you, father, mother has your phone, the 2 boys have their own phones, you actually have more gadgets than most people. You're working from home. How can we work and study without disturbing each other? Okay, my kids are honor students with a long break. They lost their motivation. They wake up at noon. How can they attend morning classes? So everything here is motivation. Motivation is a habit. We cannot suddenly tell the kid, okay, you're allowed to wake up at noon on Sunday, and then on Monday you suddenly have to wake up at 8. It doesn't work that way. Please, those of you with waking up issues, try to synchronize the schedule of your sons at least a week before that. So noon time, gawin mong 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, hanggang 8 o'clock. Don't make bigla, okay? So you have to structure home environment to make motivation a habit. Many of my students say they do not like being imposed on. So instead of imposing a schedule, you need to talk with your boys. All of you have to make a workable schedule, and not everybody in the family is going to be equally happy. There has to be some give and take. So you're saying, going back to this question, they have their own phones, we have the computers in the same room, and I assume 4 people are working at once. You know, I tell my students, not all of us have the luxury of having a mansion or living in a mansion. It is very unrealistic to feel that, you know, each person has his own gadget in his own room. If you feel you can do that, you're lucky, go ahead. I also am not too happy if a child is alone in the room. So I also don't like that, especially for young kids. So what do I tell my students to do if they're distracted? This came from my students. They say earphones work. Yeah, I don't know, I don't have earphones. I don't have earphones because I can work with noise. My husband and I, my husband is here beside me. We work together all the time and we're fine. So we have learned to live with distractions. And I think in a pandemic, we all have to learn things we thought we would not have learned. So it is up to you how you do it. But the important thing will be you have to discuss it rather than impose. For very young children, of course, you will have to, you know what is best. So if the young child says, I want to be online 24 hours, you know that's not right. So for young kids, it's a different story. But for teenagers, for middle school, junior high, and high school, you cannot impose it as much. You will have to talk. Make sure there's a routine. Some of you are saying, you know, your kids are always playing video games and they cannot exercise. Force them. Okay, how do you force them? Build it into the routine. Ateneo, most of the classes I know finish in the morning. After the morning, they can exercise in the afternoon. Even if they say that they have assignments, even whatever exercise is 10 minutes to 20 minutes, they can do it in their room. Build it in. Better still, do the exercise with them. I know many parents say that they work from home, but parents, I know you don't work 24/7. I am a workaholic. I don't even work 24/7. So if you can do exercise with your child, maybe 1 to 1:15, you can say, okay, all of us need to get out from our gadgets and exercise. Let's do it. Build it in. If it's a routine, you do not have to force, to get mad, to shout, etc. You do not have to tell your kids, hey, you have to brush teeth in the morning. They just do it, whether they like it or not. It is a routine. So make it the same way here for ODL. And structure provides a sense of safety. I keep on sharing this story because this is the one that really touches me. I met him online in May with another educational webinar, and he was only able to go online because the private school adopted the public school. So he said he has several kids. His sacrifice is, he's a tricycle driver and they lost a lot of income. But he says his biggest sacrifice will be his eldest son, whom he wanted to help out with the tricycle task. he said his sacrifice will be he will make sure his son can attend public school. And I asked him how many gadgets he has. He says they only have one single old computer donated by someone, really, really old, with practically no internet access. And I asked him, how can you do it? And he told me, kakayanan namin. So if they can kakayanan namin, all of us with so much more, we can get the routine done. We can get the gadgets done. Kaya natin, parents. Ateneo parents tayo, kaya natin to. Other tips, Father Ben, when he was president, would wave this around in every parent orientation. This is motivation, discipline, communication, etc. So if you feel like you want more tips, it's here. Okay, what struck me last Saturday and also today when I was looking at the questions from Jerry is many of the questions you're asking actually are not really pandemic caused. Yes, they were there even before the pandemic. The only thing the pandemic did was to make them more urgent. So if you were having problems with distractions, and so many of you have that, if you were having problems over discipline and communication, so many of you have that. This was not because of the pandemic. This was way before the pandemic. And the only thing the pandemic did was it highlighted these issues and forced all of us to confront them. Before we can live without it. We are going to work, the kids are going to school, sige na nga, and we'll just go to a counselor. Ngayon, hindi na. Everybody is at home. So now you're forced to deal with it. And that is why many of the emails have a panicky tone to it. So yes, we can blame the pandemic for many things. But I don't think we should blame the pandemic for these. When my child cannot learn on his own, when my child cannot, that's not pandemic. That's even before. The integrity issues, Father Johnny addressed a bit of it. I'll say something a bit. It's also, if your son wants to copy from people and well, use the bad word cheat, that was before the pandemic. It's not now. So let's address each very, very quickly. These are samples of your questions. How do we discipline our son? This is the funny one. Our college son checks other websites. We know it will be worse for our incoming grade 7. Parent, are you certain you know it will be worse? How do you know that it will be worse for your grade 7? Just because your college son does it doesn't really, my heart actually went out to you when you said this. Are the teachers trained to sustain their attention? Father Johnny told you the teachers have been trained in design. The teachers will try their best. Can we guarantee? There are no guarantees. I cannot even guarantee for the college teachers. Some teachers can sustain attention more than others. And this is even before the pandemic. But what we can guarantee is the teachers will try. Parents, please do not go on Viber and slam the teachers. Please, it hurts the teachers because they are trying their best. But if you have, of course, genuine concerns, you feel the teacher is not meeting enough, you feel the teacher is not, etc., etc., of course, you have in the afternoon consults with the teachers. And sometimes if you email complaints to me, I feel very, very uneasy because I don't want to be caught in the middle. Remember, parents, I'm doing college. I'm not teaching in the basic ed. But again, the admin, the teachers I've been in contact with in basic ed are excellent, from math all the way to other subjects, and they genuinely care. So I know there is enough, parents. So there's no guarantee in life, but in Ateneo, I can safely say, possibly, I am certain, more than half the teachers will be able to sustain their attention. But parents, the sustaining the attention is not just the task of the teachers. You also have to motivate, help the children motivate and sustain their attention also at home. What policies does the school have? That will be for the school to answer. How much screen time should we allow our kids? Okay. And then before I answer that, you have other questions. How do I still discipline with 11-year-old son? I'll be at work away from home just like the old normal. I'm very happy, mother, that you pointed this out. You know that you had this problem even before. So just like in the old normal, nahihirapan na yung 11-year-old ninyo to do even the regular classes. This concern also applies my son in college. Mas mahirap yung college, so I'll just do the 11-year-old. Study habits, so we don't need to fight over this. How do we motivate our sons? So your questions are on discipline and on motivation. So gadgets first. Gaming and social media are designed to be addictive. They are designed for it. Go to Growing Up Wired. Okay, we have a chapter on how they're designed. I have students who design games. Some of my top students are designing games, and they tell me that the consultants they have, I'm sorry to say this, are international psychologists whose job it is who also used to be consultants for the Las Vegas gaming industry. So these are according to my students. The reason why your kids are so hooked on gaming is because games are designed to be addictive. That's it. So don't keep on yelling at your kids. Yelling will not work. What you want is you tell them, this is actually designed to be addictive, so let us combat this addiction. That's the way to do it. But I wish they will become, I doubt our children will be addicted to online learning. I wish they will, but I highly doubt it because online learning takes effort. I know gaming, etc., takes effort too. And there are lots and lots of gaming that are good. Okay, so there's the trees that I do. I used to be the champion in Pac-Man, so I do my share of gaming. But I know how to regulate myself. And the games today are fantastic. The graphics, and there's problem solving. So some of my best students who are also gamers are very good because they can do problem solving with games. So I cannot just slam gaming because I myself like many games, not all. And I know of students who do it. But for many, what I probably slam are people who just consume games. I would want my students to create rather than just consume. And it's okay if you consume if you want to relax. But there's a difference between playing games, say 2 hours a day, and playing games 10 hours a day. So we also know the lines for that. So gaming in itself is not really, really bad, but even the best games are designed to be addictive. Even the best, even Minecraft, even Tetris, even etc. So once you know that, take a deep breath, don't get mad at your kids, let your kids enjoy it. But once ODO starts, you're right, most screen time should be used for school. So how much should this question, how much screen time should we allow? I don't know, parents, it's up to you. If your child seems to be doing well and appears to be enjoying school and seems to be up to task with his homework and everything, by all means, you can enjoy more Netflix than the others. So I cannot give you how much screen time. You can look at the American Academy of Pediatrics for their guidelines. But for me, I think it is you. What parents will know, you parents will know best your kids. Please don't keep on playing spy. The kids have to learn how to self-regulate. Some of my students say they use apps. Apple has a good app as reminders. They actually lock themselves out. Mami, hindi ko kaya, so yung computer na lang naglalak, yung phone ko yung naglalak. It does work. It's funny, but they say it works. And Father Johnny also told you, a lot of the classes are not going to be live. So you can download and print offline materials. So if your child tells you, I need the computer for the whole day because we have whole day classes, that is not true, parents. They might need it stretches in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes. But most of the time, when they do have the live classes, which are not even that long, then they can download the materials. They are supposed to be working offline. No computer access, kung pwede, no phones. Talagang normal, traditional, doing the worksheets. So parents, it is not true that they always have to be online. And please discuss as a family, and my college students say, parents, please be role models because you give them rules, but you yourself break the rules. Let's hear for young people. I don't have time to do this. So in the book, I actually quoted last Saturday from somebody, Miriam Xavier Ateneo, and the doctor and the dad on how they do it. So there are lots of strategies. Discipline varies with age because your basic ed, I have to do the whole thing. Age of regulation would be the primary. You have to make clear to the child what to do. You have to regulate them. It's not them. First, you have to make clear the rules. But when they turn around 8, it's imitation. You will say, okay, what if my son is 6 years old and he's an academically superior kid? Okay, fine. If he's 6 years old, academic superior, you can make him into age of imitation. Be good role models for your children. They will see what you do and copy you rather than really listening to what you say. 13 years up, and this is where the most heartbreaking messages are. Being good role models, you still have to do this one no, but you have to inspire. You have to inspire them with your words, with your actions. If they see you caring for other people, if they see you going beyond the cell, if they see you still going out into the front lines, even if they're so scared, they will be inspired, they will do their best. That one I can guarantee. So it's different. And open communication is essential. This is the one that is lacking in most issues. Open communication. Apply logical consequences. Don't punish out of frustration. It doesn't work. Makes your child hate you and resent it. Consequence of the child's choice. Logical consequence. Suppose you have a grade 1 and you say, okay, anak, we have decided, when I look at all the websites, the doctors also decided that the maximum amount of time in the whole day that you can be online is maybe 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Let's say 2.5 hours. So you tell anak, kaya natin to, because even your school will not be 2.5 hours. Very likely it will be maybe 1.5 hours. Check with Ateneo first on your exact schedule so you can see how many hours there really is. And you can look at what the doctors say and then come up with your own limits. So you say, suppose you have this X amount of hours. So you say, okay, I would want you to use these hours for school, to be in class, to chat with your friends, not to go gaming if you can. Let's reserve gaming for the weekend. And suppose he does not do it. Suppose he says yes, 3 hours, and with the 3 hours you see that he is yes in class, but he's also opening another window which the teacher will not know, the teacher will not catch. So he's supposed to be doing this window, but he's opening any other windows. You let it stay, and then you see him playing games, but at 3 hours, you shut off the router. And he will tell you this. He will say, but I haven't finished my homework. You will say, anak, we decided on 3 hours. So if you haven't finished your homework, well, you can finish it without the computer. You can finish it without the internet access. So do not be inconsistent. You cannot just say, on Monday, sige, kasi my test, sige. No, if you're inconsistent, you lose the battle, especially with young kids. You have to be consistent. You cannot pity the child. Kawawa naman yung anak ko. All the other kids are having the computer on the whole day. You cannot be concerned about what others think. This is not a competition with different parents. This is what you know is best for your child. You can even tell young kids, it's harder to do this. For older kids, 7, 8-year-old up, this can work. I love you. Because I love you, we need to set certain limits. That quote came from Hani Karandang. So she says the worst thing with parenting now is there's no limits. So because I love you, I have to set some limits because I want you to grow to be the best person you can be. They will not like you, but you're the parent. You're not their barkada. This is not a popularity contest. You are their parent. And they will appreciate you 10 or 20 years later. We became parents. That's our job. Don't communicate hostility. Don't say, ano ka ba? Sinabi ko nga, you're such a bad kid. Sinabi ko na, don't do that. Because they do that, the kid starts, mental health issues start forming. So no hostility. Just say very calmly, we agreed on 3 hours. So by the end of 3 hours, I will shut down the internet. That's it. Very, very calmly, no screaming, no nagging, no, you're a bad kid, nothing. And do not reject the person. Please do not reject the person. You can say, tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow, you have another 3 hours. Yeah, so it's up to the child in that sense. It's a consequence of the child's choice. Motivated to learn. Many of you also have this. One question from Jerby, will there be tutorial sessions for Ateneo? Yes, in school, your LEAP sessions will still continue. Parents, if your kid needs tutorial sessions, I highly recommend that you do LEAP or what Ateneo does rather than paying extra for tutors outside. Parents, please, this is the same advice even before the pandemic. Why? Because the way the tutors outside will do it will also be online. And ayaw na nga natin that the kids are always online, di ba? So kung umaga online ka na, tapos hapon online ka pa, kawawa na yung bata. So umaga online, and then kung kailangan lang, and LEAP, I think I can trust LEAP to know what's best, then they do LEAP. And you're also worried about the tuition. So why are you going to pay extra for other things? So ito yung independently? How do I make online learning fun? I'm very worried about the word fun because learning is often not fun. And our goal in Ateneo is not to make learning fun. Our goal is to make learning enjoyable. It's not fun in the way watching Netflix is fun, but it is enjoyable because when the child achieves a sense of competence, the child likes it. So it's not pleasurable, but it is enjoyable. We focus on the positive. Isa-isahin natin, primary school. Focus on the positive. Hey, you have homework. You're going to learn from this, or whatever script you have. Focus on the positive. Model the behavior. See, mommy is actually working here. You will also do your work. With young kids, it does. It makes them feel very good that they're also working. Support your child's efforts. Don't do the work for them. Let your kids experience discomfort, difficulty, even failure. But don't stop there. We have many, I'll just say this, many very strict Filipino Chinese parents in other schools who tell me, sige, we'll just keep on letting them fail. I said, that is not the point. Making somebody fail deliberately is sadistic. That's not the point. What you want is the child will fail because of a consequence of a wrong choice. And once the child fails, don't say, aha, you failed, you should learn. That's not it. Once you fail, once he fails, and he will fail, you will have to sit down with him. Okay, anak, we're sorry you had to experience this. But how do you think you're going to learn? How do you think you're going to approach this situation better the next time? So do not just stop with failure. Okay, so failure is not punishment. Failure is an opportunity to grow. And tutoring, so many of you keep on asking me about tutors. Parents, I know you're working. I know you're busy. But parents are still the best tutors because it requires patience and care, and nobody can be as caring as you in your child. You say, nag-aaway kayo ng anak nyo, fine. If you want to make tutoring work for you, I have some tips in learning. So I can't. The best tutors are still family members. Get the ate, get the kuya to do it. Get the cousin, get the lola, get the auntie, get the aunt. Get somebody who loves the child. Get somebody who you don't really have to pay. Get somebody who will be there for the kid. And very importantly, get a tutor who will not make the child dependent on the tutor, but will make the child independent. The best tutors are the ones who only tutor for a short time because they have inspired the child to do it on his own. Those are the best ones. Catch up in elementary school. Elementary na tayo. If he has issues, you have to talk to the child. Consult with the teacher again. Do not praise the children for every single thing, but focus on their efforts. I did a big thing on this last Saturday. I don't have time to do it now. Parents, Google Carol Dweck and Google growth mindset. So that's basically the whole thing. So how do you promote a growth mindset? So growth mindset, it's a big thing now, but this one, the growth mindset thing happened when I was still studying inside. So it started in the 1990s. Our children had not yet been born. Some of you parents were still very, very young. So matagal na yan, yung growth mindset. So that one is an important thing. Take an honest look at yourself. In elementary school, if the child really doesn't respond, flunks, whatever you do, all the consequences, you may need to talk to the guidance, you may need to do, or other people. Okay, this is the one that breaks my heart. This is actually from the parent. Is it too late to start in high school? If your child has no study habits, is it too late? It's never too late, parents. It is never, ever too late. So take heart. But it is not as easy, and it has its own challenges. What is the biggest thing for high school teenagers? You have to understand what motivates your teen. When some of you come to me and you just cry on the first session and say, you have done everything you could, and you know, you say your kid is, you give him all the bad adjectives and your kid is not doing anything, you know, no. Unless the child is depressed, iba yung depression, iba yung depression. Kung depression, diretso, professional. If your child is not depressed, and thankfully many children are not depressed, they're just not motivated, okay? So if your child is not depressed, there will be something that motivates him. Meron yan. Very likely it's not school, but perhaps he memorized the entire NBA scores. Ang daming Atenista, ang galing ng NBA. They can give you all the field goals, they can give you lahat. So alam nila, so they're motivated to learn it. So some people who say they're artistic, okay? They might not like the sciences, but they memorize lines for plays. They give you debates on etc. etc. So meron. Parents, you have to know what it is that motivates your child. It cannot be us. It is you. And if your child is motivated in that way, you can discuss. It can't just be you and emailing us, we cannot give you the best answers. You have to sit down and talk with your child. I see that you're actually very interested in this. And I wish and I hope that perhaps you can transfer your enthusiasm for basketball to Araling Panlipunan. You can say that. Or Filipino, you can say that. How do you think it can be? The child will laugh. How can it be? I like this, I hate this. But you can brainstorm. Kaya yan. There are strategies. Expose your teens to the real world. Urge them to go beyond the self. I'm not defending teens. Sometimes when I do parenting talks, parents will say, I defend teens. When I do parent talks, yes, I but believe me, when I talk to my students, I defend you. I defend parents. I will say, come on, your parents love you, whatever you think, whatever. So parents, okay, for this one, this is science and not just me defending the young people. Science says, you can look it up in Scientific American or even anything online, that the prefrontal cortex, PFC, which is the rational decision-making part of our brain, which is just right here. That one, because of evolution, it matures very slowly. So for human beings, Homo sapiens, PFC matures earliest in mid-20s, and depending on your genetics, it can even mature all the way up to when you're 30. So when you say, bakit yung anak ko, hindi siya nag-iisip? Well, that's because his PFC is not yet mature. Seriously, I'm not making an excuse for your child. Really, it's not. So, and it has nothing to do with intelligence. Some of my smartest, summa cum laude students have done very quote-unquote silly things, which years later, when they ask me to be ninang in their wedding, they will tell me, Mom, do you remember I did this? I said, yeah. They said, Mom, my God. I said, yes. But years later, they have matured. They know. But when they're still teens, and this one, they start doing impulsive, irrational behavior, things that reckless behavior even, they experiment with a lot of stuff. So it starts possibly in middle school, high school, you get a lot of them, college, we get a lot of them. So parents, understand your children in this way. Okay, you're going to say, yeah, but does it mean that I'm going to make him go into dangerous activities? No. This is what I tell my class. I said, class, now that you know this, and you know that despite your willpower, sometimes you're really, really impulsive, you just have to do something, you just have to take this one. I told them, because you know this, you now have the responsibility to safeguard against it. So try your best. So I actually, in my class, sometimes if I have to, in a particularly low morale class, wherein they already have learned helplessness, Mom, wala na kaming kwenta, babagsakan kami. There are classes like that. So I would lead them to this exercise. Guys, ginawa ninyo to kasi ito yung brain ninyo. I'm not excusing you na yung ginawa ninyo na ito, and yes, you would still have to be disciplinary office, sanctions, whatever still work. But I tell them, because now you know that you're not totally mature, even if physically you are, cognitively you are not. You will have to brainstorm ways to save you from yourself. So now that you know that you're impulsive, what do? Don't drink and drive. Make sure that there's somebody beside you. Mga ganyan. So parents, you can have this conversation with your teens. Tell them, now we kind of understand why you sometimes act this way, and we promise to try our best not to keep on yelling at you or giving you the cold shoulder or fighting, etc. But anak, we also need you to be more careful, and don't leave it there. What are some practical ways we can ensure that you can learn better without us encroaching on the privacy that you love? So you can do this, parents. Again, kaya natin to, parents. And if needed, turn to other adults. Turn to their teachers, turn to their uncles, turn to their Nina, turn to the priest, turn to Father Johnny, turn to, yeah. Okay, homework. According to my son in grade 7, he said this: most of the time, you don't have to threaten your kids because the prospect of failing something is enough. By not nagging or threatening us, you're extending trust while letting the fear of failure do the job. Okay, this is logical consequence. In school and at work, we will always be faced with distractions. Developing the power to say no to distractions is much more powerful than being sheltered from them. Parents, we keep on sheltering kids, and we should shelter the younger ones more than the older ones. But sheltering them forever does not make them grow. And this is something all of us have to learn by ourselves, painfully if needed. So sometimes he puts it better than me. And communication. This is almost the last. How do we know our son is really learning anything online? Talk to your son. Ask him, Anak, are you really learning anything online? If he says yes, sabihin mo, okay, can you tell us the one good thing that you learned? If he says no, you cannot say, you cannot just quickly get scared and email us agad. You would have to ask your son, Anak, bakit kaya? Is there anything we can help you with? Yung ganon. How do you guide a teen with his own strong mind and conviction? Communication. How do we know if he's burned out? There are warning signs, and you can also ask him. Communicate. This one is heartbreaking. I got this from an Ateneo parent yesterday. Our son in grade 6 talks easily with his friends online, but not with us at home. It's frustrating because I gave up everything to take care of him. Wow, mother, your son is lucky, but you cannot directly tell him that. I don't even know what he thinks, what he does. This one actually almost made me cry. I don't even know what he thinks, what he does. What can I do? Mother, you cannot give up on your son. Your son might be pushing you out because of a reason we have no idea. All we know is he can talk to his friends. And mother, I know you're here today, and I want to address you, and I know you're not the only mother here. We don't give up on your kid. Grade 6 is already tween. But not giving up on your child means if he shuts you out, do everything else I said, try everything here. Try to get another adult. Try even, I'm not sure if this will work. Try even perhaps, I don't know if this will work. Maybe talking, I was about to say talking to the parent of his barkada, but I don't know if that will work. I don't know. And I might give you the wrong counsel. All I can tell you is if he shuts you out, you cannot shut him out. I know you gave up everything. I don't know what you mean by you gave up everything though. You're not supposed to give up everything. You're supposed to have your own life. So maybe, okay. And this is also another heartbreaking one. It's so confusing today. What are the youth really up to? Their thoughts are so different from ours before. They're growing up in a different way. What can you do if they don't listen to you? Actually, these two questions cut at the heart of everything I said today. All the distractions, all the motivations. What can we do if they don't listen? And what are they really up to? What are they thinking? I know Johnny Salvador is listening and the admin are here. I think you may have to do, not in this big crowd, but you may have to do short sessions on communication for parents. I mean it. And maybe get a Jesuit priest to handle some of the sessions. Because these two questions and similar questions like that are the ones I have no answer to. The most I can give parents would be suggestions on communication. So these books have, communication is one chapter, it's chapter 3, learning the homework. But these are books, you have to practice it. Many people like Homework 2, because Homework 2 is a book done by my son and me, for Working Mom magazine before. And Working Mom would give us a question from a reader, and I answer it from the viewpoint of a mom. My son answers it from the viewpoint of a kid. And the funny thing is, many times our answers are not the same. So some parents love Homework 2 because they see two different aspects. But I think maybe a series of parenting seminars done by the Basic Ed may work, especially for communication. Because if parents can communicate, everything else kaya na. Yan, ito yung homework. So it's easier for young people to relate to the voices of their peers. We talked about grades, we talked about, these are all from readers, bullying, exercise, Print books, sacrifice, sleep. We talked about the sex talk, etc. And we talked about dealing with them. So these are actual questions. If it resonates, you can. Okay, other things. Study hard. These are the easier ones now. Study hard, but also study smart. You have the SMART goals. These are what I tell my students. Try not to multitask. Focus on what you don't know first. Lots and lots. And there are quotes from experts again. Tips from my students. So it's not just me. I dialogue a lot with my students. My students have tips about avoiding procrastination. Ang dami nilang tips. Dealing with gaming addiction, going in the zone. They talked about nerds versus jocks. And so these are from my students in some books. These are, again, my students with their names. These students have graduated very nicely, but I asked them about actually math, and these are what they said. So these are the do not cheat. So Carla Gutierrez. Gutierrez actually talked about this one. It's a nice one. It's nice to for students to hear what other students say, why they should not cheat. So practice, sinabi ni Filasol. So train for life, Mindy. Okay, Molina said this, etc. So many of my books have lots of quotes from my students because that is the only way we can learn. Last one. This one was asked, and this one came from Jervy's slide. How can the school properly assess understanding while ensuring only the students themselves answer the test? Father Johnny said he doesn't obsess about it. I do not obsess about it also. This is, I'm a working mom, I won't be home. It's unfair if there are parents at home coaching children. Okay. Father Johnny said this is the concern of many teachers. We teachers are concerned. I'm not as concerned, but the other teachers are. But I also get, hindi lang teachers. So many parents, these are actual parent questions. So ito yung kay Jerving kahapon. So I know many parents, you don't want to say it, but you're wondering, nako, kung may mga ibang parents na helicopter parents, they're going to be the ones answering. Okay, I will repeat what Father Johnny said. There is nothing, and my students tell me this. Please tell the parents, if the child really wants to cheat and the parent really wants to cheat, there's really nothing we can do. That is coming from my students. And I hate that answer. But what can we do? I'm not going to be the policeman. I will not even be online when my students take the test online. But I give them a very guilty talk beforehand. And I tell them this. No one will know except you and maybe God. Actually, and God. So it is up to you to do the right thing. For the parents, even if other parents will do it, you will not. Again, just because one parent does it doesn't mean you have to do it. Even if your parent, whose kid is always in the honor roll, doesn't want to lose that honor, that parent intends to be there and coaching the child all through it, gagawin niya, hindi natin gagawin. And I think the best thing would be, several parents said they like what I said last Saturday. So this is what I said last Saturday, and it is in response to this particular Ateneo parent, okay? So dear Ateneo parent, you say it is unfair if there are parents at home coaching children. I say it is not unfair. In fact, I love it that you are not home to coach your child because your child will be the one learning. So you know, in the end, your child will be learning so much more than the other children whose parents are sitting beside them. So for this mother who emailed, you know, hallelujah. Because you have no choice but to lead your child to it, then your child will grow. It is actually unfair to the other parents. I think you have a leg up. So do not even think that it is unfair. Unfair to what? Unfair to whom? Who cares about grades? We in the college don't look at your grade school grades. Sorry, grade school. We know we should do well in grade school, but if you do badly in one single quiz because you're struggling and you learn from it, that is so much better than the parent coaching the kid to get a perfect score. So it's not unfair. It's actually better. So don't think of it that way, parents. So I keep on telling that to the teachers. Yung mga magagaling, lilitaw naman sila eh. And as for me, I'm going to do oral exams. That way, they cannot cheat. These are the books I mentioned. I will end with Father Nebres. He told me to tell this to you. Parents, learn ways to reflect, pray, and quiet yourselves. We have limited control. What we can control is ourselves and the way we respond. Be supportive and caring. Missed lessons can always be made up. Your attitude, your positivity will carry your children through challenges. Parents, you are here right now, listening to us. That is a huge sacrifice. Most of you have worked. Because of that, I already know you are loving parents. Because of that, I'm not worried. You are more worried than me. I actually have faith in you. I'm not saying it to praise you. I don't praise people. But you're here. Your actions speak louder. So, parents, be calm. Kaya ninyo yan. Worry less about the subject matter. Be concerned more that your children feel supported, yes. And yes, Father Ben still wants us to work on the motivation. Father Ben says, importante yung motivation. Internal motivation ng mga bata. So we will work to make them learn independently, to be motivated, etc., etc., etc. Thank you, stay well, and God bless.
A virtual round of applause for Dr. Queena Lee-Chua. Wow. Yeah, I think we have covered a lot of ground in terms of responding to the various questions of our parents. So maybe we can just thank our speaker now for her very comprehensive coverage of the partnership that we need to establish. No? Thanks also for pointing the spotlight on mental health, on constant dialogue, and also on the importance of adaptability. It's always a delight listening to Queena because not only does she speak with passion and great credibility, but she speaks in a language that each of us can resonate with. And this is the language of conventional wisdom. So we'd like to thank both of our resource persons who are senseis in the real sense of the word. No? As Maisa puts it, they have been there, done that. No? And thanks too for everybody who set up this webinar and those who prepared the materials for our shop. No? So dear parents, we look forward to this continued partnership. True, everyone is struggling, but we need to draw strength and hope from one another. And to quote excerpts from the prayer of Maisa a while ago, we don't ask for a perfect world, but maybe for a better world. And we know that we can only do that if we listen to one another, if we cooperate, and if we open ourselves to God's grace. So dear parents of basic education, our shop is open. So please find time in the coming days to visit the Ateneo Blue Cloud for additional resources and announcements that our parents need to prepare our students for the school year. Thank you very much and have a good day ahead.